I'm going to guess Jeremy and Barrett, when they do it, are just saying some nasty shit. I'm going to guess. I don't know that.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, presented by CinemaSins.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, a weekly look at everything going on inside the world of CinemaSins. I'm Aaron Dicer, and I'm joined as always by Jonathan Watkins.
Hello, hello.
And Danae Hughes.
Giving the peace sign.
We write for CinemaSins and TV Sins and do various other things inside the CinemaSins universe as well. Yeah, Danae gave the peace sign because you don't know this because I get to edit it all out. But
oh my God.
She was making all sorts of crazy noises during the entire introduction.
All right, guys, I'm ready. Aaron's already done the introduction.
Yeah,
Glad
during
you're ready.
the entire introduction, she's just doing vocal exercises. I don't know why. I'll put it in the outtakes just so you know.
What is it? Baby bumper cars? What is it?
Rubber baby buggy bumpers.
Rubber baby buggy
Rubber
bumpers.
baby buggy bumpers.
Yeah, the trick is you just don't think about it too much.
I do Mime Mamo Moo before sin narrations. Like especially if it's in the morning, I will do a series of like escalating Mime Mamo Moo. Mamo moo, and then I will go like all the way up, do some vocal, like get the vocal. Yeah, that's another one. Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it's not exactly, but yes, you have the idea. You've done vocal exercises before, so you know how it goes. Mm-hmm. But
yeah, I have. And hey, shout out to the BTS peeps who've been messaging me saying that they like hearing me sing. It's funny because I purposefully make I make it silly when I sing. And so whenever I have done a couple more serious tunes lately and gotten such lovely feedback, it made my soul happy. So thank you.
It is nice, right?
I think you and Amy Adams would be like best friends because I saw an interview with her randomly the other day, and apparently she just randomly sings on movie sets.
Yeah.
And annoys everyone. You don't annoy me, by the way. I'm
thank
talking about
you,
what she said about her.
Just want to clarify.
I just want to make that clear. I wasn't saying also you annoy us.
Also,
but,
you have a lot in common with Amy. You know,
super annoying.
No, but she just bust out in song apparently on set, and I was like, that's probably what Danae would do.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If she was like doing a scene with Jeremy Renner, she would just start singing to him.
Mm-hmm.
This is not something Danae puts on for the show. I spend time with Danae in real life. She does this in real life as well. She is a random.
Oh, I was like, you talking about my bandana again? Yeah, I put my bandana on purpose.
You're a random gibber singer. You know, you like do you gibberish sing. So
I feel like that should.
You put the bandana on because you ought to know. Although Alanis Morissette wear a bandana? Am I making this up?
Alanis Morissette has never worn a bandana. Like, I mean,
then who wore a bandana? Like Joan
know.
Osborne? Like who?
90s singer bandana? Is that what we're doing now? Hey, Aaron, the show is over.
Yeah, no, we're completely
Edie
off
Brickell and the New Bohemians.
Completely off the rails. I'm not even sure we have mentioned the bandana in this show until now because it was all part of the outtakes. But anyhow.
No, you're not wrong. I am a gibber singer, and I do goofy things all the time, inappropriately. Sometimes I just am in my own little world, and then I'll look around. There have been multiple occasions where I've sang and then like even like little queered, like queered. That was a strange word. Weird.
That's a great portmanteau. Yeah, that works.
Dances and just been silly, goofy. And then I look around and there's a semicircle of people just staring at me. And I remember that this is my real life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's happened on multiple occasions as well.
It happens. Mm-hmm. Well, let's get into the SinSide Scoop.
What's he building in there?
I've got a secret.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
This is a true story.
We're going to take a look at the videos from the week, the process of sending them, how we felt about the show or movie or commercial or whatever in general. We'll kick it off with the commercials. I'm excited about this one. Parents who use drugs have kids who use drugs. I think the reason...
When I saw this come through, I was like, oh, we sent this?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, no.
No, it so deserves it. Like, this is one of those things, I was just a kid when this started, and even then I was like, this is dumb. This is ridiculous. We were quoting, I learned it by watching you, okay? Like, we've been quoting that, since
all the time.
5th grade. So, yeah, it's definitely one of those that's in the consciousness. Barrett wrote on this one. Did Barrett have anything to say about parents who use drugs have kids who use drugs?
He said, I've wanted to do this commercial since we started the channel. It's the most unintentionally hilarious PSA from my childhood, of which there were many candidates, and is so ubiquitous that it's been parodied to death. So it was nice to go back to the source and watch the actual commercial and see how manipulative it was without thinking about the practicalities of the situation. Why did the kid get his own stash if he could just take some from his dad? How was he seeing his dad smoking weed in the first place? Why does he have all the musical equipment on his bed? What's up with the dad's fucking mustache? It's supposed to be an earnest appraisal of the influence parents have on their kids, but it ends with this sweeping statement that if you use drugs, your kids will. They're doomed. Fuck it. This commercial is hilarious.
Yeah, I don't really have
this
much
is
to
up
add.
there with this is the other one was This Is Your Brain on drugs.
Correct.
Right? Wasn't that kind of the other? Yeah,
That one, at least, though, that one has a little bit of impact. It's still manipulative. It's still not, one, but it's not as,
I will say,
it's not as like unintentionally funny as this one is.
Yeah, correct.
But
every time I crack an egg and put it on in a bed, it's exactly what I think.
I know.
I always
I know.
like say that in my
It's
head.
effective.
This is my brain on drugs.
it's effective.
And I'm gonna eat it with hot sauce.
I'm eating my drug-addled brain with some hot sauce this morning. Can I have a meth brain
I
omelet,
like my drug-addled
please?
brain. I like my drug-addled brain over easy.
Yes, exactly. Anyhow, that's not the commercial we're talking about.
No, sorry.
Jonathan, what about you? What were some of your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I thought this was great. I mean, it is. He's right. I mean, it's unintentionally just hilarious, which is kind of terrible because they're trying so hard to be serious. But some of the sins I like talking about all the musical instruments on the bed. It's like, holy shit, he's got an electric guitar in here too. This kid is planning to be a one-man band, and his dad is about to ruin his rock and roll vibe, man. And then I just liked the simple one about classic mom always passing the buck. What it was talking about.
Yeah, we actually have a sin in commercial or in TV sins that's about using the word classic, and then we use the word classic. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That's true. I'll go next. I enjoyed the orgy of evidence of an 80s kid sin. The ones I specifically liked in that kind of listing of how you can tell this took place in the 80s was the giant posters that probably have to do with Satanism. It's hilarious. And then he doesn't even need the baseball glove lamp to prove his point. Made me laugh as well. And then just the simplicity of the way it finishes with, and that is always the case in every family. Just take our word for it. We heard this directly from Nancy Reagan.
That's very good.
So good. So very good. Danae, what about you?
Oh, you guys took them all.
Well, there you go. Well, you learned it by watching us, okay?
I did. I learned it by watching. That's right.
Us. Let's move on to TV sins. Hey, What We Do in the Shadows is back with season 3, I believe. So we went back to the pilot to sin What We Do in the Shadows. This was Ian and myself. What did Ian have to say about this one?
Ian said, "Oh boy, did I enjoy this. Not enough to have taken the time to watch the entire series, but still very much. The documentary conceit of this show makes less sense than most others that use it, like The Office, but the fact that it is so tongue-in-cheek gives it a pass in my book. Miles O'Brien will always be known as Star Trek TNG's transporter chief."
What an asshole. Although I did call him out on Twitter, so I deserve that.
This has a fantastic cast overall, but I am especially fond of Matt Berry, which is Laszlo. Is that right? Is that Laszlo?
Yeah, Laszlo.
And his gloriously over-the-top line delivery and cadence.
Yes.
He really only has the one note, so no matter what the TV show he's in, he really only has the one note no matter what TV show he's in, but nonetheless, it is a note that slays me. Get it? Slays me. Vampires? Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Danae did the joke. Did they get my joke? Did they? Okay, you can. Okay. Turns into a bat, flies away in the lamp. Wow, he's very excited. 2. Overall, this was one of the easiest yet most fun TV sin scripts I have written on so far. one of those where the sins and jokes just kept flowing. And I remember having to back and forth with Jonathan on some of my stuff because he doesn't think I'm funny. It's okay, Jonathan. I understand.
That is not true. That is not true.
Oh, he's really rousing you. Who walks around with a forking butter knife was, of course, fun to write. And my favorite sin that I wrote was a definite Dicer-inspired world play classic with the vampires converse about Crocs and Vans for what feels like forever. Yeah, I really had to shoehorn that one. I'll stop. This is one that was just served up to the plate when the vamps are talking about transportation by a crocodile or van. Me and Aaron both got very worked up about the piss poor job that Guillermo did using newspaper to block out the sun. Yes. I love it when my writing partner and I get fixated on the same thing. On the same very specific plot point.
It's so dumb. It's so dumb. Like he's like cutting pieces of newspaper to put in the individual squares. Like it's
I had that written down. That was funny.
So dumb. I had a lot of fun with this one too. This is one of my favorite shows. I do really enjoy this. I binged the first season and a half sometime during season 2 last season, and because too many people had been like, this is so right up your alley, you're gonna love this. And eventually,
have you seen the movie?
Yes, but only because I wanted to watch the TV show. So I watched the movie first and then watched the TV show.
Movie's pretty damn great too.
It is. It is. It's really
Taika
funny.
Waititi and,
Yeah, I am so in. I am a fan of this show. It is so funny, and I'm having such a great time with it. And sending it was really fun as well. Ian took a couple of the ones I wanted to mention, but I also wanted to mention he wrote about the year being necessary for the half-consumed body, and then treating it like some sort of expiration date, and then finishing off with humans aren't made out of Twinkies, Nadja, I thought was really, really funny. And then I had to do, I really liked the spin on the title of my sex tape sin, where they show a picture of a woman like holding up her skirt, and then somebody just being like absolutely terrified by what they're seeing. And then the sin is cover art of my sex tape ? Yeah, that was really fun as well. So yeah, I had a blast with this. Absolutely love this show. Today, what about you?
I like the Nandor is like a big turkey and walking around trying to control everything. That's the lead in. And the sin was, I don't think that's how turkeys work, or farms for that matter.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
Then the Twitter joke, the lead in is someone saying energy vampires drain people's energy merely by talking to them. And the sin is you laugh because you think this isn't a real thing, but have you been on Twitter lately? It's a breeding ground for these guys. I like that one because there is something called there is an awareness of people who are actually like they do call them vampires. And I thought that it reminded me of a lot of my internal metaphysical work that I've done. And I was just glad to see that kind of pointed out. We're sinning Twitter, but we're also sinning the people who just suck each other's energy. And it's a real problem. And if you can identify it, you can avoid them, which is why I'm not on Twitter very much. That's one of my favorite
additions. That's one of my favorite additions. Like that's not a type of character that's in the movie. So I love that character so much. I mean, I'm not that the other characters are from the movie, but they're similar.
Well, in the relationship they have to Colin is so funny. It's so, this show is so good. It's
and his
so
name
good.
is Colin. That dude is Colin. Like there's never been a more Colin.
That's why they
more Colin.
That's why they call him that.
My last one that I loved is and we've done this several times, and I hope it's something that we continue to do, is the lead-in is, but then I kept going, squeezing until my needs were met. And the sin is another one of those instances where we have the narrator say something, but we bleep out a whole bunch of words, leaving so much to the imagination. And I really love them. I find them, I don't know that I'm ever going to get tired of them. That's how funny they are to me, because your brain just starts plopping in words or visuals without you even trying. And it's just like, and there's a part of me, as somebody who likes to, read books and stuff, and you get to the end of a book and or even a movie or anything really, any kind of, I want to know what the writer intended the story to be. I've always been that way. So if they leave it kind of open at the end. I'm like, no. What did you think was going to happen? And they want, that to be an imaginative thing. So instantly I'm like, well, what did he say? Like, what was it? So, but they're really, really fun. They make my brain go crazy and I love them.
Yeah, no, those are fun.
But if I'm guessing Aaron's saying, what do you do again?
I've said this. If you prefer to keep the mystery, fast forward for 10 seconds or so. But I pick an English word, a different one each time, and then I use different versions of it. So elephant in the elephanting. I usually try to do like a 1 or 2 syllable word. But yeah, just something.
I'm gonna guess Jeremy and Barrett when they do it are just saying some nasty shit. I'm gonna guess. I don't know that.
Yeah,
I don't speak for them.
You don't know. But it's kind of a TV Sins thing. I don't know that I've. Oh, no, I have heard it in the CinemaSins. I've heard Jeremy do it.
It's not as common.
Right.
I think the first time I ever saw anything done, I think it was in a music video Sins. This was when Jeremy was still doing the narration too, because I remember Barrett was doing it kind of on purpose. So, but no, I think it's become a TV Sins staple.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's fun. Jonathan, what about you?
I like the show. I have not watched the first couple episodes in the new season. I'll probably catch up this weekend, but I have watched it. I think I might have even seen the first season a couple times, but I don't know. It's really funny. I was surprised because I love the movie. I've seen the movie a few times, and it was one of my favorite movies, whatever year that was, 2016 or whatever, and 2014. I don't know. And I thought it was really funny. I would even compare it so much as something like Spinal Tap or something like one of those kind of mockumentaries.
Yeah.
I think it's on that level, like Christopher Guest. Taika Waititi, as we know now, is a genius. Then we were just kind of getting to learn that over here. But the show is really funny, and I really enjoy it. I don't know. I can't really add much else to it. But the Sins, this was a really fun script to shadow on, even though Ian says apparently I just said he wasn't funny. I don't remember this. Aaron talked about the cover art of my sex tape. I had that down. I also sending the window newspapering was great.
Yeah.
The other one I had was there right at the beginning, the whole thing about, I didn't write the whole thing down, but it was dual staircases suck. And then you go on to say why. And then it ends with dueling staircases, on the other hand, are totally badass, which I thought was very funny. And I'm assuming that was Ian. That felt Ian to me, but I could be wrong.
No, that was me.
Well, maybe you aren't funny, Ian.
Yeah,
I've just done a couple scripts with you, so I know you're funny.
Yeah. No, that was fun.
In fact, we have one coming out maybe next week. In the next couple weeks, we have a CinemaSins coming out that we did together that I cannot wait for. So.
Nice. That's always a good feeling when you're excited for people to see the work you've put in. That's a good sign. All right, let's move on to Rick and Morty. This was Rickternal Friendshine of the Spotless Mort. This is season 5, episode 8, which was the last episode before the little break they took before the 2-part finale, which...
today and I were like, yay, the season's over. And then it was like, no, shit.
Anyhow, the conversation on the 2-part finale will come later. But for now, we're talking about this episode. Jonathan and I wrote on this one. Jonathan, do you want to start with some of your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I really, it's interesting because the first few episodes of this season I thought were pretty strong. I mean, there was that one weird one where they all go like try to have sex with people, but like the first like 3 or 4 of the first 5 were pretty good. I think these last few though have been a little, I don't know, like and this one's okay. Like I'm not like, I didn't hate it, but I don't know.
Just for context, it's the one where he's rebuilding bird person.
Yeah, and there was some good stuff. There was definitely some funny stuff, but you had all the AI garage stuff I didn't find very funny. And once again, Aaron and I seem to be on an island, but this whole like getting real, it just feels very odd to me. In the context of this series.
I'm glad people are willing to buy it. I just think the show has done so much work already on telling us what a terrible person Rick is that I don't know. It's just interesting that they're really trying for some sort of weird Rick-demption, and I don't know if they've already gone too far. So
I did love the battle though, because there was something about that music was really awesome, and I don't know, there was just something about that whole sequence that was
the episode that
it was so well put.
This episode?
Yeah.
What was the battle?
Where he's trying to get Bird Person back.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
it was like where they first met and fought together and all that kind of stuff. So I thought that was, I don't know, that was just kind of cool. It was kind of badass.
Yeah.
Just the way the animation and everything was put together. I also just love it's, interesting, like going back to those second season episodes that we've been doing occasionally and just seeing how the animation has changed. And it's just so crisper now and like sharper. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's interesting. But as far as the sins, I don't usually use one of mine, but I really enjoyed this one. And it was, if you looked up down to free ball in the dictionary, it would just be a picture of Rick saying, wubba dubba dub.
Yeah, I had that one too.
And then I loved when the guy walks by the neighbor, which somebody said might be Gene. I don't think it is, but the neighbor walks by in the garage, starts talking to him, and he just says, like, he asked a question, or he says she's like Jarvis from Iron Man. And then the sin is, well, that's a strange way to say, what the fuck, this garage with the dying man hooked up to some sort of cyborg bird creature is talking to me.
Yeah.
And then I loved the show, the line in the show was, your values are wrong, and then the sin was just Facebook.
Yep. Yeah.
So those are mine.
I think I enjoyed this episode a little more than you did. I agree with the Garage AI stuff is a little bit
forced.
It's very forced. It feels like,
we gotta
have a B plot. So let's figure something out. I think the episode might have been better if they just expanded a lot of the Rick Bird person stuff, because I actually really enjoyed that stuff. As much as I don't buy the Rickdemption, I do see the storytelling work that's going into it, and I do find that interesting, and it's funny. And those two together, I've always found Bird Person to be a nice foil for Rick. Like, there's a real interesting matter-of-factness to that character that plays really well off of his spastic transgression. So yeah, I like them together. So I did enjoy that part of this one. As far as sins go, I had to mention talking out of one side of your bosom, and saying, seriously, you've got two jabberjubblies. I love calling them jabberjubblies. Use them both. It's such a silly sin because it really makes no sense. Why would you talk out of both of them at the same time? I mean, you could harmonize with yourself, maybe, but I just love, fighting silliness with silliness. Sometimes, and I enjoyed that one. Anytime we can use a good citation needed sin, I enjoy it. And in this case, it was about, when you die in your friend's dream, you die in real life, and then just citation needed, because the show doesn't explain that at all. It's like, where did you get that information? Like, why do you believe that? And then, I mean, the sad shoe of liberty was right there when he's doing the sad monument puns. Enjoyed that as well. Danae, what about you?
So I watched this to keep up with the season, and I was also shadow on this one. And I don't think that I've watched all the previous seasons. So there was some context that I was missing, like the betrayal of Tammy with Bird Person and things like that. But obviously this episode sort of reveals that they have a child together somewhere out there in the world, which is, I think, ultimately why Bird Person decides to live rather than dying. And we also learned that Rick, loves Bird Person on a romantic level. I think that was an interesting. I don't mind them trying to give him some backstory and some context. I don't mind that. It's just hard to have feelings linger with the Smith family. And that's been the same thing as it's almost like a flash in the pan of emotion, because it's just going to dissolve away really quickly. It's like throwing in water on the pan to check to see if it's hot. It's kind of like a little pop and sizzle of emotion and interest, and then it's gone. And and that's okay. I don't think I mind that the writers are experimenting with that at all. And I think it's an interesting kind of, it's an interesting shift. For this season. And
there were some moments that worked, like when Bird Person said, don't be gross, Tammy, and then he started crying, like the tear came out of his eye. Like, that was kind of touching.
Yeah, they're just trying some things. They've been trying that emotional angle with Morty growing up, and with Beth having more emotion towards being a mother, and then we've got Rick with some emotion. I don't know that I've seen a lot from Jerry or Summer as much, as far as like developing their character and that kind of a thing. But all that aside, I did enjoy this one, although it didn't feel Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind as much as it felt like what's the movie where they go into the dreams?
Inception. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To me, it felt more Inception. Like you're going.
I was about to say Nightmare on Elm Street.
Or that, right. You're just going deeper and deeper and deeper.
I was like, oh yeah, no, Inception makes more sense.
It's more it's more inner space.
Yeah.
Well, what's funny is Rick and Morty has done a Nightmare on Elm Street parody, so it's totally fair.
I guess the idea is that he's slowly erasing, his memory, and then he's hiding himself into the ones that matter, and that's very Eternal Sunshine. But I wouldn't have actually kind of got that reference as easily if it wasn't in the title. And Eternal Sunshine is one of my most favorite movies, and so now I feel like, did I miss something? Should I go back and watch one of my most favorite movies? It's been a while since I've seen it, so but anyways, I
love it too.
Yeah, it's such a I love it so fucking much. So the sins that I enjoyed was opening a porta potty without knocking first. I mean, that's just wisdom we all need. Sometimes our sins are like reminders of how to live life appropriately, and I feel like that's definitely on that category.
Absolutely.
That's a strange way of saying what the fuck was the garage of the dying man hooked up to some sort of cyborg bird creature is talking to me. I loved that. And then I loved our shout out to our cloaca shirt.
Yeah,
that was very clever.
That was that we had to play with that one a little bit. Like we couldn't really get through what we wanted visually for some reason. It was but we did it, and it was beautiful.
Yes, very beautiful cloaca.
Apathy, by the way, mentioned it's Scary Terry was their Freddy Krueger variation, and it was a really early episode, like it was episode 2 or something.
Yep, that's true. All right, let's move on to music video sins. Justin Bieber, Skrillex, Don Toliver. The song is "Don't Go." Barrett writing on this one. Barrett, have anything to say about this song?
He says, sing this like the opening to Beethoven's Fifth. Fuck, hold on a second. God, hold on, I gotta.
Is Beethoven's Fifth? I think so.
I just want to make sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's it. Okay. Bieber with dreads. Bieber with dreads.
Bieber with dreads.
Hope I did you proud, Barrett. He goes on to say, I actually liked much of this Skrillex boom that happened around 2012 or so. Dubstep is an acquired taste, but I dug it, even if it came and went as fast as the swing trend of the late 90s. Anyway, this track might as well have been made from a Watson-style AI robot, only a dumber version. There's no hook, there's no humanity, and Bieber has dreads. And that's it.
Bieber has dreads. It's true. He does. I saw the video. It is definitely true.
Yeah. I wrote that down. I've said this before. I'll say a lot. Barrett's delivery of his narration is a delight to listen to.
So great.
I have such a fun time. I just have such a fun time listening to it. And when he has those rage sins like the Bieber dread one, it's so fun. I imagine him in his recording area, just like just what he has to do to emote that level. And I think it's really great. So, the entire sin about him raging on Bieber dreads was super fun. I also liked the, what this mid-tempo forgettable pseudo love songs video needs to make it pop? Car porn. I really enjoyed that. And then, the liquid gold sin was a surprise to me. The visuals of this video of like this sort of gold paint or something like dripping slowly down the faces. And the sin is, it does suck that they're wasting this liquid gold, but I do appreciate that it will likely have the effect of sealing Justin's lips together for the foreseeable future. I was like, oh my God, that's so sick. What an interesting visual video. Yeah. What did you guys think?
I think the video and the song are both kind of fluffy, meaningless shallowness. Like there's not a lot going on here. The don't go thing is, I don't know. To me, the lyrics read as a very basic idea of, I don't know how to live without you. But there is an element of like growth to it. There's a little bit of maturity in these lyrics that I don't know that I've heard in Bieber's earlier stuff, where it's like, I don't want you to go, but I know you have to, more than just like, don't go because I'll never survive, which I think is a little healthier. But the song itself is just, it's pop music. And I think if I listened to it enough, I'd probably enjoy it. But I don't have the, the incentive really to listen to it much more. As far as sins I liked, the finishing the question about, I thought, the last song was your masterpiece, and then finishing it with, now I don't know what to believe. Instead of believe. I enjoyed that. I agree with Barrett that dubstep was a fun little kind of blink in time. I actually like dubstep music. I think it's the beat drop, and I don't know. I have a thing for electronica and dance music in general that I really enjoy. So I enjoyed this.
What's really weird too is in one of the CinemaSins videos, we have a sin about waiting for the beat to drop.
There you go.
It's just, that's such a random coincidence.
This week, you mean?
Yeah.
Like this same week?
Yeah. It's in Diamonds Are Forever.
Yeah. There's another one. I think we'll get to it in Gamer. I think there's another crossover that I found really interesting. But anyhow, the sin ends by talking about dubstep is his thing, man. Can't we get one beat drop for old time's sake? Love that. So yeah, that's what I enjoyed. What about you, Jonathan? How did you feel?
Yeah, I this is one of those where I've never felt more of my 45 years all at once than trying to figure out what the fuck this was. Yeah. I have no idea.
Just wait till next week's video. Just fucking wait until next week's video. It's insane.
Well, it hasn't. The edit hasn't come through yet, though, has it?
No,
because I haven't seen it.
No, I happen to. I happen to have written on it. That's how I know. It's.
Oh. Yeah. So I will be experiencing that in the next day or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait. No, I seriously had no idea. My daughter was listening to this song like a couple days before, this edit came to me, and I was asking her, like, what is this? Like, why do you like this? Or it's like, yeah, it's kind of cool. I was like, okay. But yeah, I just don't get it. It is what it is. If you love it, I'm happy for you. I can't figure it out. And I did like dubstep back in the day. I had, did you guys talk about the power chord ones? Did they mention that one? Did I mishear that? Okay. I had what are all these power chords for? And it was that nature display thing. And it was like, what are all these power chords for? This is a goddamn nature display and the animals aren't fucking animatronic. This ain't no fucking Chuck E. Cheese. Talk about the way Barrett reads things. And then I just, for some reason, the simple one, but it was so funny to me, was hanging a painting in a gallery before it's had time to dry. I don't know why that was so funny to me.
Because it's just those simple, real ones. Sometimes are the funniest, where it's just like, in that. Honestly, if you go back and watch like the first couple videos, that was the real energy of the sins were just like observational, simple. That's why we still do things like sentences where we're like, wearing your glasses like this, or because that's kind of the energy of what we do. We've expanded to do more like in-depth paragraphs, and those kind of things, because those can be funny too. But yeah, sometimes that simple stuff is just, it's kind of the heart of sins,
And it also kind of drives me crazy when he does them, because one thing, early on when I was working on music video sins, like I am a fan of those, and I probably did try to put too many in, but it just seemed like every time, I'm sure he did like some and he put them through, but it felt like every time I wrote one of those, he was like, let's get a little more in here. And then so now when he does simple ones, I'll always come back to him and be like, oh yeah, you didn't want to fucking put more in this one? Like,
wow, sounds like we need a little a little staff counseling between Jonathan and Barrett, and
no, it's
an HR.
It's all in fun.
And Jonathan and Ian.
It made me but because there is that thing, especially early on when you're writing, and I love this about Chris and Barrett especially, and Jeremy does this too, but it's just kind of that strive to like, I mean, this is definitely what's going on, but can you see if you can add more to it? And that just kind of makes you, I think it kind of massages you into something a little, you look for more in these things, and you're not just simply pointing out everything. Because if you have too many of those, it doesn't work.
Yeah, and what makes it, and sometimes it's the rhythm of the video. Yeah. Sometimes it's, what makes this a little funnier. Yeah. Like it needs like a punchline to it. And I think the way we inspire each other to do that is great, especially because humor is so subjective. We're all going to find different things funny. And so the way we trust each other's sense of humor sometimes, and the way we push each other to, find a different sense of humor sometimes, I love all that stuff. I think that's what makes us better.
Absolutely.
Is pushing each other like that.
But sometimes it's the very, we're going to talk about Diamonds Are Forever, like the elephant scene, like, what the fuck is this shit? Sometimes you just need that sin works.
Yeah.
That's right.
You have to express yourself.
Yep, totally.
When an elephant's pulling a slot machine, it's just...
Well, since we're already there, let's go ahead and move into CinemaSins. Diamonds Are Forever. Chris and Jonathan writing on this Bond movie.
I got to write on a Bond movie, my first Bond movie.
Jonathan, you wrote on this one. What are some of your thoughts?
Well, I think I've said this before on the show. Bond is my favorite franchise. So I really love. Not all the movies are good, believe me, but I really enjoy the franchise. I watched it with my dad and my mom and stuff when I was younger, all the older ones, and then I've just grown up with it. And it's always interesting to me, the changes they make with it and stuff. This was Connery's last film as Bond. He actually didn't do the one before this. George Lazenby did, which was interesting because On Her Majesty's Secret Service has this whole storyline where he gets married and then his wife ends up getting killed at the end, and then they just completely forget that happened. And we make some sins in reference to that in this one. Diamonds Are Forever. I totally understand if you think it's bad. I can't sit there and argue with you too much about it, but I really enjoy it. I think it's fun. And I just get a kick out of it. This is when you really start getting into the little sillier stuff at times, the bigger gadgets and stuff like that. But I like it all. I like the self-serious stuff with Craig, and a couple of them. But I do also enjoy the kind of high energy goofiness that started here and continued with a lot of the Roger Moore films. I think The Spy Who Loved Me, which came out maybe 3 movies after this, I think that's the one that really is able to do both things and make it just be awesome. This isn't great by any means, but I have a lot of fun with it. There's a lot of moments in it, like elephants pulling slot machines. As far as the sins, Chris wrote so many funny ones. I loved just the ending of that one where it's pronoun game, winner, fatality. I loved how Jeremy read that.
That was one of the ones I wrote down.
There's the scene where it cuts to the cat with the diamond collar. And then it just says movie fails to tell audience when to take drugs.
So good.
And then the whole crazy thing about, he goes undercover as a diamond smuggler, and he has no idea how to get these diamonds back in the country. But then the guy that he's pretending to be shows up, he kills him, or maybe she kills the woman kills him. I can't remember, but then it's now he has a way to do that. So the sin was, wow, James is so lucky the real Peter Frank showed up, because now he has a way of smuggling fake diamonds into the United States that he didn't have before. And then my favorite was, my 2 favorites were, wait, she got those 4 goons to throw plenty out of the window just so that she could get laid. Game recognized game. I thought that was great. Yeah. And then when Felix, when they're on the phone and they're trying to get some information from Blofeld, and he says something about the summer house, and then Felix loudly says, I know where that is. And the sin is, shut the fuck up, you summer house location knowing son of a bitch. Chris was killing it on this. So not that he isn't always, but I mean, I was just so good. Reading this combine it was amazing.
It's so good.
And these are very fun to send. So
I bet. I have had that thought. I am just this year catching up on my Bond as I kind of have them interspersed in this chronological catch up that I'm doing. And I have gotten through Diamonds Are Forever and On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and isn't Connery in another one that's like unofficial? Doesn't he do another one later that's God, that's a fascinating story. One of the guy, I can't remember the person's name, but the Broccoli's were the ones that make all these movies. I think there's only one of them still alive, but there was somebody else that was with them, and I can't remember how it worked out, but he ended up somehow having the rights to Thunderball, which was the 3rd or 4th. It's the 4th movie, I think. And so basically in the early 80s, he got Connery to come back, and then he just remade Thunderball into a movie called Never Say Never Again. And then his intention, if that had been a bigger hit, his intention was to keep making them. So I guess he was just going to keep remaking Thunderball. I have no idea because that was the only thing one he had
owned.
Rights to. That's hilarious.
Yeah, but he had the rights to Blofeld. So that's why shortly after this movie, they can't, even if they have Blofeld in it, they can't name them, and it's a whole thing. So
Interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating.
As far as this particular one, I am keeping a ranked list of Bond movies that I will make public once I've seen them all. But I only have 2 ranked lower than this. I really did not enjoy this one very much.
I totally get it. And I saw this as a kid, so I mean that probably factors in quite a bit. I will say the book is a lot better. There's a much better villain in the book. I think the fact that they put Blofeld in here was a mistake. I will say though, as far as like the Connery towards women, like the way that they had him act towards women, especially in the last couple he did, was pretty rough.
Oh, it's terrible.
This one's a little better, at least. Like, it gets a little more, like, the women are tougher and they're kind of not taking his shit. I don't know. It just seems a little.
Yeah, but in some ways, it's like, well, better. At least we're only chewing on 3 razor blades instead of 5. You know, it's like.
Well, I mean, you gotta take what you can. There are problematic things in a lot of movies.
Yeah, totally.
These are no exception.
Totally. Yeah. As far as sins go, I was dying through this entire video. You mentioned several that I wanted to mention, but I do have a couple more. There is a moment where a woman tells a child to like blow up your pants or something like that. I forget exactly.
Blow it out your pants.
And the sin is just I don't know what that means.
Yeah, it was so funny. Just the delivery. I have that one. Like, I don't know what that means.
I just love it so much. And in the same vein, probably the one that got me the most was she says, same person, same character. Says, keep leaning on that tutor, Charlie, and you'll get a shot in the mouth.
Oh,
and then the sin is just, that's got to be the dirtiest thing anyone said in a Bond movie ever.
I love her in this movie. That's another reason I think I have fun with this movie, because I like that character so much. That's Jill St. John.
Yes.
So.
And then the only other one that I wanted to mention, it's just the lead-in is just the henchman laughing, and then the sin is just, what's so funny? I don't know. The simplicity of that really made me laugh. Because it's true in the movie. You're like, what are they laughing about? Like, anyhow. Yeah. Enjoyed all that stuff. Danae, what about you?
Haven't seen any of this stuff, so I just know Bond as Bond. And I know that there's ridiculous things that Bond can do. Watching the older versions of spy movies, it's got to be easy to send, like putting the missiles into where the engine goes and things like that. But it's also really interesting to see how the telling of those stories has changed as time has gone on. Because the Bond movies now they have this realism to them, and our technology,
the newer ones,
and our technology has changed so much. Since when was this? When did this come out? 70s.
This was 71.
Okay. Right. So
this was actually the first Bond film in the 70s, which is also interesting.
That's
in some ways.
So you think about like a Bond car now, it's easy to imagine that you could have the engine and that there would be a compartment that has like a little tiny missile, because we have such technology that we could make these things happen. But to visually represent that in older filmmaking, it's like, we're going to put this massive missile in the car in the background so everyone knows that it's weaponized. And I think that that's a really cool, it's always neat to go back into storytelling and see how stories used to be told visually for the audience that's along for the ride, and how much the audience was likely willing to just dismiss those sorts of ridiculous things, because that was just the expectation. There were no tiny little, little missiles like this that it could, go and
it's interesting.
Destroy someone.
I'm sorry. I hate that I can talk about Bond for like days, but I find all this fascinating, because I will say with Bond, what's interesting to me is it kind of goes back and forth. Like with Connery, I think all the Connerys, with the exception of this one, I would say they're a little more serious, not as dark as the current ones, but a little more. And Lazenby's is pretty dark. On Her Majesty's Secret Service. But then the Roger Moore ones are a little more goofy. And then they go back to Timothy Dalton, and both of the Timothy Dalton ones are pretty dark. And then it goes to Pierce Brosnan, it's kind of goofy again. And then it goes to Daniel Craig, and it's kind of dark again. So I'm really curious if, like, once this next one comes out and then Daniel Craig's done, I'm wondering if they're going to kind of go back to the more, and with stuff like the Suicide Squad, with movies like that coming out, where it kind of feels like, you kind of feel like the superhero movies are getting a little more in that direction. It kind of makes me think that maybe Bond will too, just because I think people just right now, with everything going on in the real world, I think kind of goofy is just something that people maybe want more
What I
now,
hear you saying
know?
is Russell Brand for the next Bond.
No. It's always like a legit actor, but like Tom Hardy.
Whoa,
like if you have like
shade
Tom
thrown
Hardy
on
as
Russell
Bond.
Brand. Anyhow, no, I'm just
No,
kidding.
well, but Russell Brand, I don't know. I mean, Russell Brand can act in a dramatic fashion, I'm sure, but I'm just saying, like Tom Hardy would be like people have joked about him being Bond, or even Idris Elba.
Yeah.
I think either one of those, they could do that Roger Moore, Pierce Brosnan kind of role where it's fun, you know. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just thought that was
Jonathan really likes talking about Bond, so yeah,
it's a fascinating franchise, man.
In the chat and also here, I think that you should do a Bond pod, and one of the fans said call it Bondy pod instead of a Bony pod.
Yeah, Bondy pod.
Chris will do a Bond
little
pod
Bondy
with
pod.
me. I will absolutely
Bondy
do
pod.
that.
You should
No,
do it.
Bond
You should
pod.
do a little series where you like really just dig into it all. But I think that there's also things like you just don't question like going out onto the roof for an elevator that's not really there.
That's so weird.
To, you know, access, and just breaking down the how does any of this work? But then again, just remembering that the audience just welcomes the experience, and that was part of the fun of Bond, is just the unbelievability of it. But I think that I like the way that the storytelling has shifted, because it does make you want to have a Bond that's more
lot of people
realistic.
Yeah.
But this sort of over the top thing would definitely feel more like satire. What was the?
Austin Powers.
Yeah, this feels more like Austin Powers watching
Oh yeah,
it.
this is like these are the ones Austin Powers is definitely making fun of. I mean,
Right.
I think Dr. Evil comes from this movie.
Oh yes,
Right,
100%.
entirely.
Yeah.
Or maybe You Only Live Twice,
This-
but definitely this era.
movie plus Lorne Michaels equals Dr. Evil.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, there's a lot of Lorne Michaels there.
Sins that I liked were, if we weren't in the Dark Ages, we might have been able to say that we're we're gay without the cheeky reference. I thought that was really fucking smart. I like I believe that you mean light refraction, James. Leave the scientific speak to the experts.
Yeah.
And the Puritanism sin, which was when she was being, you know, like they have these women that are just walking around without clothes on, but then she's like, I'm going to go out here. And the person says, you need to put something on. As if that's, you know, welcoming in the purists of the movie era that are like so offended to see scantily clad women that they're like, oh good, at least someone told them in that movie to put some clothes on to make it more appropriate. So I really enjoyed seeing that sin.
All right, let's move on to Gamer. Barrett and Daniel writing on this one. What did they have
both
to
have
say about Gamer?
Barrett said, Gerard Butler is a terrible actor. I don't care what Jonathan says. Doesn't mean I don't love him in many things, but he literally only shows up to run around, show off his guns, and carry guns with those guns. This movie is balls, even with an excellent cast. As we noted in one of the sins, it's like the creators had what they thought was a good idea, then forgot to finalize it or make an actual plot. I still don't understand how this game works, by the way. The avatars are supposedly in reality, but they're controlled by gamers, but the reality is skewed by all kinds of weird shit, like a buffering bird showing up in a wife's hand. I truly didn't realize this movie had existed until it appeared on the schedule, which is always a fun time. Last time that happened was the animated epic movie that Danae and I did. In short, fuck this movie and its stupid fucking face. And that is what that's what Barrett had to say. And then Daniel said, I saw Gamer when it was released in theaters. I did not enjoy it back then, and it certainly hasn't aged well. It felt like the filmmakers were trying to combine a bunch of concepts from other films like Running Man, Escape from New York, and maybe The Matrix. That sounds like a cool idea to me, but whereas those films all did at least do some things well, Gamer really fails at building an interesting world and having a cohesive story. Also, the action is mostly incoherent and feels completely disconnected from the story. On top of all of that, a bunch of stuff happens without any explanation, and it is super frustrating. There's one scene where a guy is flung into the air by some unseen force, and it's never explained or acknowledged by any of the characters. I rewatched the trailer, and you really get just about as much out of that as you do from the movie. Sin shout out for me is Barrett wrote this one. It nicely sums up one of the most annoying parts of the movie, the weird future speak that they tried to create. And the sin is freaking your burger. Look, I know this movie's dialogue is supposed to be turned up to 11, but there's only so much meth I can ingest in order to keep up with it. And that those are Daniel's thoughts.
I had that one down as well. Danae, why don't you go next?
Sure. I really enjoyed the back-to-back that's racist, that's sexist jokes. The lead-in was a comment about dead Orientals, and then the second one was the stop menstruating kind of sin. And the sins were back-to-back. So the first one is that's racist in a weird early 1900s sort of way, and that's sexist in a weird late 1900s sort of way.
Yeah,
there was just
I had that down too. That was great.
Really good play on just kind of pointing out how things should have been inappropriate much earlier. The lead-in is I keep my holes down. You got to keep your holes down. And the sin is good advice. Terrible phrasing. Then the lead-in is you're going to end up dead, and I'm going to look like an asshole if you don't put your balls together. And the sin was just pep talks. And then followed by also, I've heard a lot of malapropriisms in my time in a movie, but pulling your balls together, what the hell does that even mean? Wouldn't that make him perform worse in this battle? And then there was a double cliche sin where the lead-in is, come on, I want to show you something. And it's coming from the perspective of the bad guys. So the sin is the villain exposits his plan to a hero before he plans to kill him, and followed by you better come take a look at this cliche. And I thought that was a really clever way of putting that together.
Yeah, definitely. Jonathan, why don't you go next?
I saw it when it came out, I think I saw it in the theater, if I remember correctly. When I was watching this video, though, the only things I remembered about it were Kira Sedgwick was in it, because I love her. Seen every episode of The Closer, probably twice, if you want to know that fact about me. And then I remembered Michael C. Hall doing that dance number. And because it was so odd. It was just one of those things. And when I saw it in the video, I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. But I don't remember anything else. I don't remember anything about what the game is. I couldn't remember if Butler's just an avatar, but I think he's a real person. I couldn't remember. So I don't think I liked it. I mean, I don't remember liking it at all. And it obviously didn't stick with me. So that's kind of my thoughts. But I do like Gerard Butler more than most people, probably. That is probably true. So
I think you put him in the right movie. He's amazing. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I agree. If people know what to do with him,
I think he's great.
AKA Greenland, which every single one of you needs to watch now if you haven't.
It's so good.
Kira Sedgwick says palindromes, and then the sin is, I guess she says this because his name is Bob, which is hardly worth how distracting this attempt was. The candy corn thing, I don't know what I'm more pissed about, that there is candy corn in this virtual universe, that candy corn continues to exist in the future, or just candy corn in general. I felt that. And then I just loved how they kept mispronouncing the actor's name. I think one of them was like Milo Vet Mangolo or something like that. I don't even know how you pronounce his name.
He's from be honest. This Is Us most recently, but was also in Heroes. Yes. In case you're wondering who the actor is. But yeah,
Rocky Balboa. He played Rocky's son in Rocky Balboa.
True, he did. Yeah. Vilo. I don't know how to pronounce his first or last name.
I think it is Milo, but I'm not positive. Isn't he? I think he's Russian. Maybe.
I think so. I think that could
something like that. Yeah. But I just love they just said it real quickly, like Vilo Met Mangalo. And I can't remember how they pronounced it the other time.
Yeah. You guys said a lot of mine. I will say I've never seen this movie. In fact, this is one of
Shocker.
This is one of those. I'm not kidding. I don't know if this ever happened before.
You weren't a critic at this point, right? You weren't quite. Wasn't that like 2010 or so when you really started doing that? Yeah. So this was like right before that. It's an action movie. It's really rated R action movie. That none of that strikes me as something you're like, I'm down.
I think this is the only time I've had this experience when pulling up, like the prep for what we've done. And I technically had this experience when I like posted it for our Sin Club members and that kind of thing, where I'm like, wait, is this a real movie? Like I literally have no concept of this as a movie in my head ever. Like I feel like I've never even heard of this movie, and I thought it was like, is this a joke? Like, is this like? I'm almost like, did I miss April Fool's Day? Or we do like this is really a movie?
Yeah, we actually got Michael C. Hall and Gerard Butler and Kira Sedgwick to come down. We filmed all this.
Yeah, totally.
And
but yeah, it's the first time I've ever had that where I'm just like, this is an actual film. Okay, let's watch the video. I was not inspired by any of this Sins video to go explore as to what the rest of this movie is like. Some of the stuff you guys did mention, because you mentioned a lot of what I had, but this was the other weird connecting point of the week. When we talk about those weird synchronicities in some of these videos, There's a Sin that's Free Guy Origins, because there's a character. We have a Free Guy Sin in the Rick and Morty video this week. I know that movie just came out, but how weird that we would both use Free Guy as a reference the same week. Pretty amazing. Then I enjoyed the idea that they should have used some sort of Bitcoin in this, and just calling it Etherbit Light Dogerium coin. Made me laugh quite a bit. I loved the simple MSNBC Sin. Was really great. Instead of like Fox News or CNN, they just went with MSNBC. I really enjoyed that. The other one I wanted to mention was if you're playing IMVU and it suddenly turns into PUBG, you're going to notice. I just love that for its specificity. I love Sins that really show an understanding of what's going on, and the idea of IMVU, which I had never heard of, is actually like a virtual reality kind of existence. And then PUBG, which I had heard of, is more of like a shooter kind of game. So yeah, I thought that was really, really well done as well. So I wanted to mention those.
Nice.
So that is Gamer.
Yeah. Instead of watching Gamer, you should go watch The Closer, where Kira Sedgwick has like the worst Southern accent, but like after a few episodes, you start believing it might be secretly good. It probably isn't, but it really grows on you. And she's I don't know, that was just one of those. It was like a TNT show or something.
After you're done with your Bond retrospective podcast, I need a Kira Sedgwick podcast. I need you to do all Kira Sedgwick.
Do you not like Kira Sedgwick?
I love Kira Sedgwick.
Great.
I look Kevin Bacon and Kira.
They're still together,
right? Yeah, like that's
I think
that's
so.
a Hollywood
that's a beautiful
power couple
story
right there, man. So
yeah, good for them.
Yeah, no, I'm a big Kira Sedgwick fan.
I've seen Wild Things, so I think Kira Sedgwick is very happy with her choice.
Fair enough. All right, let's move into keeping tabs.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
Oh, jeez.
This is the most public yet of my many humiliations.
We're each going to talk about something from the process of putting together the content for this week. Jonathan, why don't you go first?
I did a lot of random research when I was doing Diamonds Are Forever, just to make sure. That's kind of how I found out about I thought that was weird when they were sticking the missiles in the. I thought that's where the engine would be, so I had to look at some stuff on the cars and all that kind of stuff. It's all this stuff that I'm definitely not qualified to do research on, but I did my best. So the satellites thing was something I looked up, like how fast the burns are when they go to space, and that was just something. It was a memory of mine. Somebody I watched that with, and somebody was talking about how that was BS and stuff. So I kind of looked into that and found out that the timing didn't make any sense based on the guy said something like it was going to be 24 minutes for the burn, which it only takes 15. And at that point they had already entered the atmosphere, so it would have already burned and they wouldn't even have the fuel in there to burn it. It was real boring stuff, but I figured it out. I also researched if lasers could shoot underwater, because that just seemed like bullshit to me. They can. They absolutely, as long as the machinery is not underwater. The laser itself can shoot underwater. But I did discover from the distance they were at, it probably wouldn't have. I even found I didn't put the thing in, but I actually found something that was on specifically Diamonds Are Forever, and it was the distance. It wouldn't have that much of an impact once it hit the water. It wouldn't be as intense because it was coming from such a far distance. I think that's what it was. And then so when it hit the sub, it wouldn't have done what it did, basically, is what I determined. The other weird thing, because I did the whole, and I wasn't going to use this, but I came across this because I thought that was Natalie Wood's sister. We had a couple of fun discount sins because Crispin Glover's dad is in this movie. And so we did discount Crispin Glover. He could be his dad. And then Natalie Wood's sister is in this movie, Lana Wood. And so we did, she could be, discount Natalie Wood, she could be her sister. And then just randomly, because I looked up Lana Wood, Diamonds Are Forever, it came back with this story about her and Jill St. John. Apparently they didn't get along at all on the set because they were both hooking up with Sean Connery. And when they found that out, things did not go great. And then after that, I did not know this. But okay, so Natalie Wood, of course, sadly, died at sea, I guess, and early '80s, I think, and or maybe it was late '70s, early '80s. And Robert Wagner was her husband. Robert Wagner eventually married Jill St. John, That ended up being like his second wife, and his next wife. And Lana Wood has always believed that he was involved in Natalie Wood's death, and I don't have an opinion on that. That's not what I'm talking. But I just thought it was interesting, like how much these two women like tied in together. Yeah.
That's a very
on two completely different things.
Yeah,
you know,
that's a very Once Upon a Time in Hollywood kind of thing. I wonder if that was based on that Death at Sea, kind of thing. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. It was weird, but anyway. So I don't know. I just found that interesting when I was doing my research. Obviously, I wasn't going to send that. I mean, I wasn't going to bring up Natalie Wood's death and stuff, but I just thought that was fascinating how like Jill St. John has just kind of affected Lana Wood's life in a weird way.
That is strange. I really don't have much. I will say I did a lot of research on bat noses. Because I did that sin in what we do in the shadows about how it looks like a KKK hood. And I genuinely was like, is that really what... I
don't know why this is cracking me up. Like, Aaron's like Googling bat noses.
I was like, is that really what bat noses look like? That's terrifying. So I did look some of that up, and the answer is not usually that drastic. But yeah, there's a flatness to them that can kind of sometimes be like that. So anyhow, I did some research on bat noses. I will also say I am still getting messages from people who are loving the sound file that I did a couple weeks ago of like clicking on the videos, and I'm like, this is such a hit. I decided to do another one today, and I'm not going to play it during. I'll play it in the outtakes. I'll leave it in the outtakes at the end.
Okay.
But I decided to do a more accurate representation of what I hear because it's a lot quicker. And then also I pause them one by one at the end. And so I kind of did a full like 30-second, audio piece on that I will include at the end in the outtakes. So because people loved it so much. So I'll give you like another taste of that in the outtakes. But anyhow, that's pretty much all I did. Danae, what about you?
I didn't do anything.
You didn't do any work this week. That's right. I forgot. You took this entire week off.
This week I was just a bunch of bullshit.
She just like I asked her a question and she was like,
I'm off this
I'm
week.
not working this week.
God, I don't know.
I'm doing any
listen,
work.
I am trying on bandanas right now, and I do not have time.
Priorities.
All right, let's move into the comment section.
I want to know what you're thinking.
I appreciate your honesty. You're a real straight shooter.
You are the ones who are the ball lickers.
I had mentioned earlier on in talking to our live chat that someone in the live chat had a comment that I really enjoyed. That was Oversoul Gaming. And that was from the music video this week. And they said, the song is bad when you think dubstep would improve the experience. I just thought that was a nice shade thrown on dubstep, which I do love. But yeah. I also thought of a possible, maybe not new segment, but portion of the comment section that I find myself doing every time I'm looking at comments, which is basically me going, are the commenters right about this or wrong about this? And like grading them on like, you know what I mean? Because I find my brain doing this when they're like questioning our thing, like, nope, you're wrong about that. Or nope, you got us. You're right about that. Like actually, kind of doing like a little mini segment of like where they got it right, where they got it wrong. Kind of nitpicking the nitpickers of the nitpickers.
I just don't like saying nitpick that much.
Well, then don't say it. You don't have to say
it. Okay.
But I did want to mention one from What We Do in the Shadows for this segment, which I would give a false rating to. They said CinemaSins has never apparently heard of tripods for cameras or any other means of leaving a camera to film when they're not there. If you watch those shots, they're obviously handheld cameras. Like this is not like, these are not tripod shots. Like, yes, of course somebody could set up a tripod, but these are obviously handheld shots. So that is a false. You are wrong. And maybe next time you will be right. We'll see.
CinemaSins has clearly never heard of tripods. I think people now haven't heard of tripods. We used like tripods and Betamax and all kinds of weird shit when we were in college.
That's true.
So leave us alone.
Danae, what about you? What's your comment section for this week?
This one comes from, I think it was Gamer. Yes, it was the Gamer video from Frank D14 who says, quotes a sin and says, "Are they shooting a movie or playing Duck Hunt?" unquote, and then adds, "You can hate CinemaSins all you want, but you gotta admit, that was funny. And then the replies begin. Am That Dad says, anyone who hates CinemaSins likely only does so because they're still bitter about the review of Groundhog Day.
Okay.
And then the Alan Aravan says, why would people who hate CinemaSins be watching CinemaSins?
Oh, boy.
Right. Do you often watch YouTubers you don't like? I sure don't. And, you know, I love this conversation that started. I hope it continues. But the Groundhog Day reference was really, really funny to me. That's the one that, you know, is just embedded in their bitter heart. And then this sweet, sweet summer child, Alan or Vin or whatever, who doesn't understand that
doesn't understand
people
how
like
it
to
works.
hate watch us. And that's just a normal thing.
It is a normal
and
thing.
you know what? Keep hate watching us because we'll take the views.
Sure, of course.
And, you know, I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing that just kind of strikes me as funny sometimes. And I don't think anybody listening to this is like hate listening or hate watches us. So I don't think it's...
You never know.
But I just think that's interesting. It's like you would think if you really didn't like someone, you would not watch them. That would be how you would, but you know, but they do. I don't get it, but I appreciate all the views. That's all I'll say.
I think we all could do a better job at realizing that, like, this is a little different because it's not necessarily like hate watching or watching something you don't like, but any kind of like public dunking on something or someone or whatever it really does nothing but bring attention to the thing you wish didn't have attention. Like I think like
the
social media
retweeting kills me.
Yeah, the social media thing has really taught us some bad habits as far as like bringing attention to the things that we don't like and not realizing that just ignoring it is the best way to, you know, interact with that stuff sometimes. So maybe there are...
I will say, like, the few times I've gotten, like, you know, I've never really gotten seriously that dumped. Well, I mean, you know, whenever I've gotten, like, somewhat dumped on or whatever on Twitter, I almost always gain followers that day.
Yeah.
I don't lose followers. So it's just interesting to me. Like, you're retweeting stuff and you're at, you know, and I don't, you know, I'm not saying that's a good or bad thing. I just saying I always find that interesting.
It is interesting.
You know, once I learn, and there definitely are people that purposely try to push you to do that, right? They try to get you to, they want you to retweet them because then they're, you know, the next Joe Rogan or whatever.
Yep. Jonathan, what is your comment section?
So it was interesting. We were talking about the whole, like, how we like the, you know, blank in the blank, 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 you know, like when the narrator just starts. And so the beeps. And so on one of our commenters on Rick and Morty bleep themselves, which I thought was hilarious. It's Jessica Evans talking about the Rick and Morty episode. She said, because in their species, the dominant jubble is used for talking and the other is for bleep, the bleep, into bleep, 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 and bleep with chocolate sauce. So I thought that was very... And also somebody shouted out, Telenevery shouted out, they said, kudos for the Real Genius outtake, best film ever about a guy named Mitch, which I agree with, and I appreciated that somebody got that, because I didn't know how many people would get that.
It's always fun,
outtake,
right?
So
it's always fun.
Yeah, and it worked out perfectly. That was I don't know if you guys knew what it was, but that was the one where he's talking at the garage, and then, you know, are you God, you know, all that, you know, all that stuff, I am God.
Yeah.
So, good times.
Good times indeed. Let's move on to Beyond the Sins.
To infinity and beyond.
Somewhere beyond my wildest dream.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
We're just going to chat about something else from the world of pop culture that we've seen recently. Jonathan, why don't you kick us off?
Would you say something from our wildest dreams?
Something
maybe?
From our wildest dreams, I believe.
So there's obviously, I mean, this is going to air. I mean, well, 9/11 is actually tomorrow. But this whole month, you know, this is the 20th, this is, you know, 20 years later. So a lot of documentaries are popping up, like Hulu, Netflix, HBO, all that kind of stuff. One thing I found really cool was that the Criterion Channel, which I still, if you're a movie lover and that interests you at all, it is so worth the money. I mean, there's just so much material on there, so many films. And I love how they curate stuff. Like, they curate stuff into, like, lists and, you know, because Danae loves lists. So Danae should definitely jump on this.
I really should talk about this more.
They curate them into, like, packages. Like, usually what it is, it'll be like, you know, films directed by so-and-so. And then they'll have a lot of their films together. But it's really cool because you can add all that to your watch list and then you can just go through and watch the stuff you want. But what they did this month was they took 61 films. They added some new ones and then they had some that were already on there. And it's called New York Stories is the package. So it starts in like there's a couple of silent films, and it goes up to like more modern stuff in the last few years. And it's just 61 films that are set in New York and about New York. And there's just such a wide variety on there. One I watched the other night was this thriller from the late 70s called Eyes of Laura Mars with Faye Dunaway and Tommy Lee Jones. And John Carpenter wrote it. And it's really cool. But there's like, like Do the Right Things on there. After Hours, Martin Scorsese's film. The Apartment, which if you haven't seen The Apartment, that's a brilliant film.
So good.
Superfly, if you want to get some blaxploitation on. One of my personal like top 10 favorite movies of all time, The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, the original,
yes.
not the John Travolta.
Yeah.
But there's a ton of stuff. There's this really cool movie. There's even like an Australian movie that's like it's like a claymation movie. I have not watched it yet, but I want to because I just heard about it recently on a podcast and I just saw that it was in here. But it's a claymation movie from Australia that's about pen pals, and one of them is in New York. And I think I want to say it's called Max and Ruby or Ruby and Max or something like that. So I'm going to check that out. But yeah, it's all different kinds of genres, all different types of films, all different types of eras from different eras. It's a nice little, it's a nice package. So if that's something on your mind, but you've seen enough documentaries or whatever, and you just kind of want to enjoy New York, from a cinematic viewpoint, this is a really nice selection of movies. So I thought I'd shout that out.
It's New York Stories. What platform is that?
It's Criterion Channel. And I think once you go on their main page, like it's like at the headline for this month.
Okay.
So you shouldn't have a problem finding it.
Nice. Danae, what about you?
I was going to talk to you guys about Blue's Clues.
Nice.
I immediately saw that this was in the news totally by myself, unprompted by anyone present during the show.
Don't listen to the outtakes after this if you want to believe Danae is not a liar.
Apparently, Steve from Blue's Clues has revisited his exit from the show 25 years later.
Well, tell me about that, Danae. That's interesting.
Yeah, has it been 25 years?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, this is why I'm telling you guys about this. So Nick Jr. tweeted this like little 2-minute video that I definitely did not watch while my coworkers were talking. And it's just sort of a moment where Steve gets in front of the camera and talks to the audience that loved him. And it's just a little Blue's Clues reminder. So if you watched Blue's Clues and you want to see what Steve looks like 25 years later, and you want to hear him talk to you like you're 2, then this is the video for you. It will,
which he kind of looks the same, and I'm jealous.
Yeah. He has the same kind of Steve vibe in a way, and it was an interesting thing to just look at and go, oh, I remember this guy. He was just someone that I liked hanging out with and spending time with. And so I watched that, and it reminded me about Blue's Clues. And I'm excited to introduce this to my daughter who loves to draw. And I was like, oh my God, how did I not think about showing her Blue's Clues? So on my agenda later on is to show my 4.5-year-old this show.
Nice.
Quick question. You mentioned Nick Jr. Does Iris ever watch Bubble Guppies? Is that even still on?
I don't know if Bubble Guppies is on. It's on, I think, Prime.
Okay. Because one thing I think you will enjoy about it, this is because we were talking about you singing.
Everybody stand up. Everybody stand up. Yes. We watch it.
It has so much genuinely music. What you're talking about Bubble Guppies? So you have seen this?
Oh,
okay, cool. Yeah, because it has genuinely good music in it. Like it has it has like catchy songs. Like there are songs. My daughter hasn't watched that show in 7 years, and there are songs that my wife and I still sing.
It's like the Wiggles.
Like, Mel sent you a letter.
The Wiggles are
Anyways,
like that.
Also, yes. Oh, yeah. I know a lot of Wiggles stuff too. Derek Miller in the chat just pointed out that movie I was talking about in the New York section of Criterion Channel is called Mary and Max.
There you go. Glad we got that.
You are right. Ruby and Max is a cartoon.
Yeah.
So I got that confused.
My Beyond the Sins is a movie that came out earlier this year, very early this year, that I finally got a chance to catch up on, called Love and Monsters. And this movie was actually nominated for an Academy Award for visual effects. It is on Hulu now, and I really, really liked it. This is a lot of fun. Dylan O'Brien is the lead character. You may have seen him in some other stuff. Michael Rooker shows up, maybe the only other person you're probably very familiar with that's in this. But basically, there is an apocalypse that happens in this world where in order to stop an asteroid from destroying the world, they shoot a bunch of rockets at it, but the rockets have this runoff that ends up creating like these mutant monsters on Earth. Very kaiju-esque, a lot of giant monsters here that are like insects or amphibians or just basically creepy crawlies that are now giant-sized and take over the Earth. And it's basically a movie about him trying to find love in this post-apocalyptic world. It is funny. It's clever. The visuals are astounding. And I like where it went. There's about 15 minutes of kind of over-the-top silliness that I thought was a little bit out there towards the end, where I felt like the movie maybe lost its way a little bit tone-wise. But other than that, it's a really good time. So if you haven't seen Love and Monsters, it's definitely a recommend for me. It is on Hulu now. Just recently, I think, popped up on Hulu.
Yeah, it is. I need to watch it. Voodoo had a sale like probably early in the pandemic where they had a lot of new titles that were like $7.99, and that was one that I bought, and I've never watched it because then it's like, oh, well, I own it, so I'll just get to it at some point, and so I need to get around to that because I have a feeling that movie's for me. Dylan O'Brien, is he the Maze Runner kid?
Yep, that's where you know him from.
Teen Wolf, yeah.
Yeah, he's really good in this. Like really good in this. I was really impressed with him and this movie. So
yeah, and we've never learned the exact extent of it, but I know when they were filming that third Maze Runner movie, he got really hurt, and they almost
injured?
and there were some rumors that he almost he got run over.
Oh wow!
And he had some head. So I don't know, and I don't think they ever came out and said what the truth was. If they did, I missed it, but. I don't know. It's just interesting when you hear something like that, and that guy's like, he's still alive. He's still getting to make movies. Like that's awesome because a movie is 100% not worth dying for. So,
yeah. So
that's scary.
There you go. Love in Monsters on Hulu, Blue's Clues, Nick Jr.'s post on Twitter, and New York Stories playlist from the Criterion channel. Well, that's going to do it for Behind the Sins this week. Don't forget to make sure you're subscribed and go ahead and leave a comment or rating as well. If you've got anything you want to send us, you can mail it to P.O. Box 881, Republic, Missouri 65738. You can hang out with us on Twitter. I'm at Aaron Dicer. She is at Danae Says.
DENEESAYS.
And he is at Sam Loomis 13. So for Jonathan Watkins, Danae Hughes, a left side jabber jubbly, and myself, we will see you next week.
Happy International Day for the Preservation of the Ozone Layer.
Thanks for listening. Send any feedback to bts@cinemasins.com. And be sure to subscribe, rate, and comment. Find more ways to connect by visiting cinemasins.com/BTS.
Danae, styling, profiling.
You're going to go to a Fish concert after we're done recording. Or a Poison concert. It could go either way. A lot of Bret Michaels fans wear those supportive bandanas.
Poison. Poison.
Yeah, I was talking about the band Poison, not the song by Belle Biv DeVoe. No, I was talking about the band.
That girl is poison.
I know Santa. I don't know the lyrics.
That's it. That's how the song goes.
What was their other? They had Do Me Baby. Was that the other one? It was like Do Me. That's not how it went at all. I don't think that's it at all.
That was the chorus.
You can do me in the morning. You can do me in the night. Do me when you want to. Something. I don't know.
On our next domestic flight. Something like that.
The fuck is going on?
Aaron with 5 o'clock shadow is my new favorite. You look older.
Definitely. No, when I start growing facial hair, I age about 10 years.
Well, no, that does it to everybody. That's why for the longest time, my wife joked that she made me have facial hair because it looked like she was robbing the cradle if I didn't. Because I had kind of a baby face for a while. I no longer do because I have wrinkles and all that fun stuff. But
no, I go from, in my mind, I could be wrong, but facially, I think I go from looking like I'm around 35 to 40 to looking like I'm around 45 to 50, which is what I actually am. So my beard makes me look more my age, I think.
I think you probably lose about 5 years if you don't have facial hair, as long as you don't have other stuff. Because you don't really have wrinkles.
No, not really yet. I don't know if it's all the water I drink. I don't know if it's the fact that I'm overweight. And so it kind of, because I think you get more wrinkles when you're thinner, but I could be wrong about that. So
I don't know. Well, then I don't know why I have them. Like, that's fucking unfair.
That's probably wrong then.
Do you want to hear my first world problem?
Sure.
I didn't start Antonio Brown this week in my fantasy. He lit it up last night.
Oh,
I have 3 receivers that were projected to do better. And I'm playing my wife. She's going to destroy me.
I think, honestly, should we do a moment of silence? I'm just trying to think the best way to honor your pain. I just know you're going through a lot right now, and I want to make sure we're sensitive to it.
Your balls will thank you. Oh, wait, no. Is this not that one?
your meatballs will thank you.
Oh, yeah. There's the outtake. There it is.
Oh, hey there. I didn't see you there. Welcome. I don't know. I was trying to be a little Blue's Clues. Did you see the Steve from Blue's Clues did that thing online where he was like,
yes,
where he explained while I watched it. He explained like why he left, and he was like really moving.
This was the original Blue's Clues guy. Yeah. Because I was way too old for Blue's Clues.
He was the one that everyone thought died. Do you remember that?
I remember.
Did they talk about that? Like,
no,
I remember that being something that I was so curious about because Blue's Clues was a great show, and even though I was too old to watch it, I watched it all the time.
Yeah, totally.
Which is not a surprise for me.
Well, by the time I had my daughter, it was the newer person doing it. So
here's the mail, it never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. I don't remember it.
Mail.
It was like it was Pee-wee's Playhouse without the
drugs.
He's actually in a movie with our friend Josh Childs. They did a movie together.
He?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Recently?
No, not recently. It was I will find this for you. I've seen the movie. It's kind of terrible, but it's also kind of really funny. It predates What We Do in the Shadows, but that's basically the concept of the movie. It's like vampires in an office environment.
Is Josh a vampire?
Yes, Josh and his brother Jeremy.
I want to see this.
I believe so. It has been a while since I've seen it, but I can definitely find this. The movie was 2007, 14 years ago, and it was called Nether Beast Incorporated.
Oh, I've heard of this. I had no idea he was in that movie.
So Steve Burns, who was Steve from Blue's Clues, was in it. Daryl Hammond, from SNL.
Yeah.
Dave Foley, who you know from Kids in the Hall. Judd Nelson, and then down the line, Jeremy and Joshua Childs as Amos and Cecil Crenshaw. So, yeah. Anyhow, I've seen this movie.
I do know. I haven't seen it, but I know it exists.
Jason Mewes is apparently in it as well. I didn't remember that. There you go.
That might even be why I know it exists.
Nether Beast Incorporated. All right, I'm now looking up where Nether Beast Incorporated is streaming. It is streaming on Prime Video. So, hey, if you want to watch it.
I think Danae should watch that since they're good friends in it, and then she can talk about it on Beyond the Sins next week.
I'm watching Blue's Clues right now, so.
Aw, there you go.
I can't pull off a bandana, and I can't pull off, what are those called? Like the hats.
Just in general.
I can't pull off.
No, I wear baseball.
What are those called again? What are those things you put on your head? Oh, they cover your head. What is that thing? Oh.
My wife's always like, why are boys always messing with their stuff? Because, we don't have a son, but we're around a lot of my daughter's friends who are boys. And, and it's just like, she's always just like, why? Just leave it alone.
It's just like this.
Like,
listen, okay.
Things have to be adjusted.
Let me explain as one that is very curious about this. Apparently, you do have to adjust it a lot.
Yes.
Yes, of course.
It doesn't just stay in one spot the whole day, just tucked away, happy as it can be.
No.
Unless you're wearing a particular type of underwear.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have this issue, but I would imagine if it's rather large, that would be even more of a problem.
Yeah, like you have to do stuff with it. It's not
a problem for me.
I feel like we need to normalize this kind of behavior because, thank you for bringing this up, Aaron. Because in pop culture, it's like, oh, this is so gross. But if you have stuff that's hanging between your legs that you don't want to sit on or squish or get zipped into shit, like you have to move it around. It's not like you're just trying to jack off in public. Sorry.
Thank you, Danae.
Exactly.
Thank you.
People treat it like it's like picking your nose or something. It's like, no, it is not the same thing. It is.
No, it isn't the same thing. If you pick your nose, you can always just like that can usually wait. That's more like a scratch.
Now,
but if you've got like skin all stuck to itself and it's uncomfortable to even move, you have to take care of that before you can take a step. I'm just saying.
If you're sitting by a male who is spending more than a few seconds down there, you might want to move. But other than that,
what if it's a really
it's probably
serious
just a
itch,
quick adjustment.
Okay, it could be a real serious itch. I don't know.
Been itching in a very aggressive manner for like a minute now.
That's different.
And he's using his entire hand. It's just
hold on. Jonathan said a couple seconds. That's different than a minute. A few seconds.
Only because the chat brought it up. I will say I adjust less without underwear than I did with underwear because there's less fabric and material to squinch and squeeze and all that kind of stuff.
I'm never not wearing underwear, so you can just stop trying. It's not happening.
You remember like the zero frames?
I love that you think I'm trying to convince you.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Wear as much underwear as you want. Wear 3 pairs. I don't care. Wear 3. Whatever.
I do.
Aaron, do you remember the zero frames pledge that you did for Sif Pop?
Yeah,
it's like you have one for underwear that's just sort of formulating in the background.
Zero threads. It's the zero threads.
I think it's funny on that zero frames though. People do sometimes get offended. I'll see when you post stuff. Well, I like to watch trailers. Like, well, he's not saying you can't watch trailers. Yeah. He's just saying he doesn't watch trailers.
Which is what you just did with the underwear, where you're like, but I like to wear underwear.
You did do that.
Yeah, but see, you guys don't know about the emails and stuff and all the pressure he puts on me.
That's true. They don't know behind the scenes I'm DMing you all the time. Just try it, man. Just try it.
Just take off your fucking underwear, dude.
And it was okay at first, but then I started getting pictures, and I was like, no, I can't.
What is it like little diagrams about how it's healthier?
Yeah, just little drawings,
like anatomy drawings.
Yeah.
Yes.
These are where your testicles are too close to your body, and it's too much heat. You gotta let them breathe.
He like draws like the old like Mr. Goodbody guy or whatever that always had his like outside. I want a Belle Biv DeVoe kids album. Belle Biv DeVoe sings for the kids. It's poison.
It's not too much.
You should not drink the bleach.
That Tide Pod's poison. It's not a cool thing to do on TikTok.
We are the dumbest people.
We are. I don't know how we still have jobs.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, a weekly look at everything going on inside the world of CinemaSins. I'm Aaron Dicer, and I'm joined as always by Jonathan Watkins.